Hi everyone, welcome to Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation's Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions. This is a recording from January 19th, 2022 with educator and great musician John O'Leary and his topic, How to Practice Giant Steps with John O'Leary. A great session. We hope that you enjoy it. These sessions are brought to you by Duke Energy and Blue Water Wealth Management at Steward Partners. All of these recorded sessions are archived in the studio at clearwaterjazz.com, where you can watch this and many others. You could also listen to these sessions on the Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions podcast, brought to you by our friends at Marine Max Clearwater. And we would also like to give a big shout out and thank you to the Al Downing Tampa Bay Jazz Association for its support of the Young Lions program. John is no stranger to Clearwater Jazz Holiday education and outreach. You can catch him doing many other sessions with us and performing throughout the Tampa Bay area and beyond with the highly acclaimed group La Lucha and some of his solo projects. Please check out his work wherever you stream your music, and I hope you enjoy this session with John O'Leary.
Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. And thank you, Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation, for having me. So today's topic is how to practice giant steps. It's a very difficult tune, as Michael alluded to, and it's something that a lot of us will work on for the rest of our lives and continue to develop a routine on how to improve our skills on these very difficult chord changes. And I think they're difficult not because there's anything in them that is more complicated than any other chord change, but because we don't use them very often. They're unfamiliar, and part of how we will develop more fluidity in these chord changes by becoming more familiar with how they work and understanding the concept behind them, and what strategies for practicing and developing that confidence and agility in these chord changes. I myself am no master of Coltrane changes, but I just wanted to share some strategies that have helped me and I think are helpful for developing more fluidity that I am absolutely wanting to also look for in this song. Okay, so this was written by John Coltrane. I believe this came out in, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, this came out in 1959. I think this was one of those landmark recordings from 1959, and it just rocked the world with these incredible chord changes in a different way of expressing yourself. And so let's start with understanding the organization of the basic concept behind these chord changes. I'm going to share my screen, pull up what the song looks like so you can see it, and I'm going to change my video so you can see my hands. All right, if you can see on the screen, I have the melody and the chord changes to giant steps. And it's a 16 bar tune. So it's not very long, which is pretty remarkable that it can be so challenging in just such few number of bars. The difficult part of the tune is not the second half. So if we go the second half, these last 8 bars, you have 2 5-1s. Here's 2-5 to E flat, 2-5 to G, 2-5 to B, 2-5 to E flat, and another 2-5 back to B. Sure, we don't work in B very often, and sure, that could be, work out your 2-5s in there, but that's not the part of the tune we're going to work on. We're going to work on the first part of the tune, the first 8 bars, and not even that, we're going to distill that even more. We're going to just we're going to do the gym model By gym model, I mean the model of practicing. We're going to take, we're going to isolate a specific part, like your biceps or your chest. You can isolate and just work on that instead of everything at once. So instead of just playing the tune, we're going to take the difficult parts and extract that and then develop methods for practicing that. So the hard parts are this first 3 bars. You have B major 7 to D7 to G major 7 to B flat 7 to E flat. Okay, the quick 2-5. I feel like most of us will be will know what to do on how to practice the 2-5s, the quick 2-5s. So we're gonna again skip that part and go here to this other part. You have G major 7 to B flat 7 to E flat major 7 to F sharp 7 to B major 7. Those are the parts that are really difficult, and they just sound foreign to us at first, and they feel awkward and complicated. So let's start with trying to understand the concept behind how John Coltrane could conceive of such chord changes. How does one go from nothing to this? So let's start with the whiteboard. All right. So the idea behind this song is that you have 3 tonal centers that are equally spread across the octave. And what do I mean by that? We have only 12 notes. Excellent. Okay, so we have only 12 notes, right? From C to C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so how can you divide this? So let's say 12 divided by 1, and you get 12, and you have the chromatic scale. 12 divided by 2, you get 6, and you get the whole tone scale. Because 6 and 6 is 12, there's 2 of them. There's only 1 chromatic scale because it's all 12 notes. Okay, so then 12 divided by 3 is 4. And so now we get the diminished chord, and we're equally dividing the octave in 4, and then there's even a diminished scale for that. And then you can also divide the octave. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So now you get 1, 2, 3. So instead of dividing the octave in minor thirds, now you're divided the octave in major thirds. So each note is 3 notes away from the next one. C is 3 notes away from E, and A flat is 3 notes away from E, and C is 3 notes away from A flat. So in the key of Coltrane changes, of giant steps, which is in B, we'd say B, E flat, G, and B. Again, these are 3 notes away. 1 major third away. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so it's a cycle. So once you hit the 3 notes, you go to B again, then E flat again, and then G again, and then B. So, when you have major scales, the major scale repeats 12 times. You don't finish your C scale and all of a sudden you're in D. Like, you're still in C, but here After you hit that, you're back to B. Back to B. So by the fact that it's a cycle of 3 notes, you only have 4 sets of them. So what are the 4 sets of these 3 notes? Well, let's start with C. We have C, E, and A flat. Then, if we go half a step, we have D flat, F, and A. And then we go half a step. Now we got our D, and we go D, F sharp, and B flat. And then we have one more set, which is E flat, G, and B. Okay, so if we try to start at E again, we're back to the first one, because now we're going to be E, A flat, C. So then there's only 4 sets instead of 12 sets. So that's the good news. You don't have to practice 12 different sets of Coltrane changes like you do with major scales. And then with minor scales, it's even worse, because you have natural minor and melodic minor and harmonic minor. So you have 12 times 3. And so forget all that. With Coltrane changes, you only have 4 sets that you have to work with. So that is the good news. You don't have to practice as much as you think you do. You do, but in a different way. So now that we know the 4 sets of Coltrane changes of these 3 tonal centers that divide the octave, we pick the one that is in the key of giant steps. So giant steps is in the key of B, so it'll be this 3rd one right here. But you want to practice all of them, right? So, okay, so let's move this. Okay, so now how do we move from one tonal center to the other? Well, the most effective way is through the 5 chord. So we start with B, and John Coltrane likes to move through these chords, not upwards like B, E flat, G, but he likes to go backwards, starting from B, going to G, and then to E flat. So this is very important. If you go to these tonal centers forward from bottom to top, it'll have a completely different sound than the Coltrane sound. Coltrane deliberately decided that he wanted to go through these tonal centers from top to bottom, and that gives it the Coltrane sound. And I'll show you the difference. Okay, so B, we're going to play some kind of dominant chord that gets us to G. And we know that the 5 chord of G is D. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we have D7. Excellent. And then we get to G. And now we have to go a 5 chord to get from G to E flat. Well, the 5 chord of E flat is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's B flat. So we're going to hit a B flat dominant chord. And that takes you to E flat major. And there you have it. That's how you get through Coltrane changes. And to get back to B, imagine that we wanted to repeat this and make it a cycle. So now we have the pattern from B takes you through the dominant to G, that takes you through the dominant to E flat, that takes you through the dominant to B, and so on. And so you have 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of those. And so your job is to take this idea and expand it for all 4 of them. Now, let's take a look. What would it look like if John would have, instead of gone from B down to E flat, have he decided to go from B up the cycle? Now, if he wanted to go up the cycle, you would have the 3 tonal centers. Instead of from B to G to E flat, the 3 tonal centers were B to E flat to G, then back to B. Big difference. So how would we have gotten to B flat to E flat? Well, we said here that the 5 chord of E flat is B flat. And we said here that the 5 chord of G is D. So then, here, let me play the first one. The first one would sound like this. Right, again. The second one would sound like this. And so John said, hey, you know what? I think I like the first one better. And so the rest is history. That's why Coltrane changes are the way they are, because he definitely had options. Okay, so now we know where it comes from, that we know how it works, the concept behind how he organized these chord changes, and that we only have 4 sets of them, and that we want to practice them. So how do we practice them? The first thing, I think, is to outline this progression with the roots, the thirds, and the fifths. So let's start with B and go B, D, G, B flat, E flat, F sharp, B, D, G, B flat, E flat. And to just get comfortable with that sound and do that for all of them. Okay, that's for C. Now we'll do for D flat. Now we'll do it for D. Whoops, I messed that up. Let me try that again. These are tricky, I told you. And so that's why we want to practice them, so that we get more familiarized with them. And then the last one we did first. So those are the 4 sets. And that's how we want to practice them. For the sake of brevity, I won't show you the examples and all the 4 sets. So we'll just stick to the Coltrane sets, the giant step sets, so we can get through the material a little bit faster. Okay, so then now let's outline the progression using the third of each chord. So for B, the third is D sharp. And for D, the third is F sharp. And for G, the third is B natural. For B flat, the third is D. E flat, the third is G. And for F sharp, the third is A sharp. So then, we'll play the roots with the left hand and the interval that we're working with on the right hand. So we'll go thirds, and so then this helps you become more familiar here. The thirds, the thirds, the thirds, the thirds. And if you notice, the third is the same chord progression, but just starting on E flat instead of B. And then now the fifths. So the fifth is the same chord progression, but starting on F sharp. And so F sharp is the B flat, F sharp, D version. So it's in a different key, but still this follows the same pattern. So then knowing these and all 12 keys and being familiar with them is going to help you play on the original one, because they're all sort of kind of related to each other. All right, so then now once we get more comfortable with those exercises, we can try going to guide tones. So on the major and the minor, in this case only major and dominant, so on the major chords we'll do 3, and we'll use the interval of the third, and on the dominant chords we'll use the 7th, and that'll give you that 3 to 7 guide tone resolution. So you go that 7 to 3 resolution is really important in jazz, and this is no exception, right? So 3. And so as you get more comfortable with that, then that helps you with resolving the dominant chords to the ones. Here, dominant chord, 1. Dominant chord, 1. Dominant chord. And that's the basics of this sound, going from the dominant to the 1 and just learning to get around those more efficiently. So then again, you'll go through all 4 sets of these, right? C, D flat, D, and E flat, because we work on Coltrane on giant steps a lot more than the other ones. This one's going to be much more familiar than the first 3. The first 3 are going to seem super alien because we've been working on this one so much, through school and whatnot. Okay, so then the next step, I think, once you got those and you feel pretty comfortable with those, is to make a grid. And by a grid, I mean a grid of intervals. I don't know if you can do a, so here, I'll change my screen. I'm going to share my desktop really quick, and I'll go to a Excel program on the Mac called Numbers, so you can see what I'm talking about. So basically, you're going to make the intervals. You're going to go 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. And now that you have this little matrix, you can start working on each one of these. So let's start with the 1, 1. What does that mean? It means that we're going to start each chord progression from B to D, and from G to B flat, and from E flat, F sharp, B. We're going to work through that progression starting on the 1 for each one. So one common pattern that Coltrane used was we can start with just 1, 3, 5, just to get familiarized. So 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. And so on. Okay, so that's 1. What another pattern can we do of 1, 1? How about 1, 2, 3, 5? Okay, excellent. 1, 2, 3, 5 to 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, now what about if we did 1, 2, 3, 5 into some kind of dominant pattern, like Corn with David Baker. We only get 4 notes though, because it's half a bar, so we'll do that. We'll do 8, flat 7, or natural major 7, flat 7, 8. So and then, and again, we want to practice these in the other keys as well. And so on, so that we get facility throughout all of the chords, through all of the 4 different sets. All right, so that's 1 to 1. What if we did like 1 to 3, right? So we'll start on the 1 of the major chord and the 3 of the dominant chord. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. And so we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, flat 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, flat 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, flat 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That one's getting me from G to B flat. And so, just like that, by doing these different types of grid exercises, you start developing a language for how to get through these things through just a basic chord tones, right? How about we did 1 in 13? So like. That kind of sounds kind of old schooly. I really like that sound. Imagine. If we did like 3 to 13. And so just by working through these different options, you're going to start developing all these different vocabularies that you might forget about. You won't think about doing it because you're not intentional about working it. And so I find this to be a really, really fascinating tool. And what I think would be really great is when you find a pattern that you like, you write it down. Get a notebook. They have these like moleskin notebooks that have the music staff in it, and write down your pattern. You can also write it on your electric software or even on notes. Just write the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever it is. And just by that, you're going to start developing your own language for Coltrane changes, not just Coltrane's language, but yours. So that's really fun to explore. So you did like 5 to 3, for example, would be 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. And so then you start getting these other things. How about 1? How about 5? How about 5 to 9, for example? So the 5 of the major chord and the 9th of the dominant chord. So we'd be here. 5. So I find that one quite interesting because you're just kind of going. You're like major, minor, like A minor, major, minor, major, minor, major. And then you can try to like combine these. Right, you can try arpeggios. And you know, as you get better with them. It starts getting a little bit combining these different patterns. And what you want to do is just practice these so much that they become second nature. You're not thinking, oh, well, they just flow out. Let it flow, whatever. You're just rapping on the piano. Just boom, let it come out, however. But you got to practice these individual sets so that when you're ready to go, you just flow. You don't want to be thinking, oh, I'm going to do 3 to 9. You know, whatever. 3 to 9. And yeah, so that's why we practice, to gain the facility that we want in order to achieve the result that we're looking for. Okay, so I got one more piece of advice, and that is to look at Coltrane Solo that he recorded on that album. It's a fabulous, fabulous solo. It's so fast, and how he can just rip through it, because he worked on it for a long time, and then boom. So I highly recommend that you transcribe the solo by ear, by memory. I haven't done that. I'm working on learning it myself. And you can also, it's been transcribed by 1 million people, so you can find it online as well. If you want to work on your ear training, I definitely recommend you transcribing it yourself by ear. And by memory. And what do I mean by ear, by memory? By ear, I mean you hear it, and then you go, okay, so now that you figured out the notes, you figure out the rhythms. Okay, excellent. And then by memory, I mean, don't write it down. Don't have to. If you have to look at the sheet and you're like, okay, here we go. It's if you're reading it, you don't know it. You should just know it. So even if you are reading it to learn it, memorize it. The plan is to just have Coltrane's Solo under your fingers, and it doesn't have to be the entire thing, but I don't know, let's learn 3 choruses, 4 choruses, you know, something significant. And there's a book that I really like for jazz improvisation. It's called Creative Jazz Improvisation. See if you see that. By Scott Reeves. Hashtag not a sponsor, but I just find this book really helpful. And it has the solo written out there, and I'm working out of it. And he also has techniques on how to practice, some of which I've told you today. And so, you can take Coltrane's stuff and use it in your own practice, right? Okay, the very first pattern is a B major triad. And then 1, 2, 3, 5. So if you take that pattern, boo, be, boo, be, boo, boo, do, 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 and then do it throughout this cycle, it would sound like this. And so on and so forth. And so take that up and down, take it down the piano, start from the top and work all your way down. And again, if you notice, all of these are going down. Why? Because the tonal centers are going down from here to there to there. And it's much more efficient to go from here to here than it is from here to there, and from here to there, and from here to there. So technically, you could be going up if you wanted to land here. Not everything has to go. Not everything has to go down. It can go up too, but you have wider intervals. All right, so let's take another example. How does he do? So it goes. And so on. Okay, what's the next one? Okay. He starts on the 9th. So then, on the 9th. And so on and so forth. Excellent. Okay, what's the next one? This is the major. That's just a basic 2-5-1. You don't need Coltrane to show you how to play 2-5-1s. There's 100 million. Take your favorite 2-5-1s. Go learn 2-5-1s. These are just basic, they're short 2-5-1s, not long. So, okay, so when he lands here, what does he do? He goes, oh, okay, so let's try that. He's arpeggiating from the dominant chord, from the 3rd, and here. So this is an arpeggio, so it would sound like this. So 3. so on. So you work those out. And then he does. So he's working up the root of each 4-note pattern. He's 7, 9, 3, 5. So 7. Let's say for the next one. 7, 9, 3, 5. That's a very kind of cool thing. 7, 9, 3, 5. 7, 9, 3, 5. 7, 9, 3, 5. Yeah. So then you can go through all of John Coltrane Solo, and then as you get better, try to speed it up a little bit. And so just, continue to work on that. And as you do these exercises, do a little bit each time. You can pick 15 minutes and just work on one part of the grid. Let's say you want to do 7 to 7. And just you can put your timer for 20 minutes or whatever you have time and go, okay, 7 to 7. So we're going to 7 to 7. Okay, 7, 9, 3, 5, 7, 9, 3, 5. And just do that and say, okay, what other way could I do 7 to 7? So 7, 5, 3, 1. And then 7, 9, 1, 7. And so you may say, you know what, I really don't like that sound. So you don't have to use it. And you can decide how you want, which ones you like, what are your favorite ones, and how to utilize them. Okay, so that is my talk, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. And also, very good luck with this. Continue to work and to practice. Coltrane, I find it absolutely infinitely fascinating, and I adore any opportunity I get to listen to his music and to practice it. So thank you so much for having me.